But in this case, he played Venom to open the board up, and that's given the early timing in the game here. He doesn't really need to worry about closing everything because it's obviously an even game, more or less, right at the beginning. But this works out for Orry, who gets to use all 7 of his letters. We call that a bingo here in Scrabble. So Orry has bingoed, or they say bonused in the United Kingdom. Hello for all of you watching from abroad. And that bonus for using all the letters is 50 additional points plus whatever that scores. So that should be 72 points for Gatard. Oh, that was David Gibson who played Gatard. I'm sorry, I'm completely backwards here. That makes more sense now. So Orry's the one who played Venom. Okay. So Orry's played Build. He's got RE plus 1 other letter left over. So REW was his leave after the last play. And he's drawn an F, T, and an N, along with another E, so something like Weft, if there were a place on the board, would be an ideal play for him. Already considerably limits some of the options there. Should Orry decide to play on top of the T, that opens up the triple word score line on the top, which would give lots of points back. Orry's looking to play def and of and nay, most likely in the bottom there. He could also play do. He's decided to play def, and I think this is a good decision. Unlike do, there isn't an easy way to rack up a huge response underneath with a parallel play like possible after. So David has got a number of vowels here that he's going to ideally unload on this next turn. This play of axe is one that scores fairly well for David Gibson. It doesn't offer anything back that's devastating in the sense of points to that triple word score. The most Orry can play is 2 tiles up there to that triple word score on the top left to score. So David Gibson's not too worried about that, and continues to create some padding for his lead. So with that play of Newt, David Gibson's gotten a nice gift. He has Eustatic through the T. That's E-U-S-T-A-T-I-C. Let's take a quick look here to make sure that there's nothing particular better for him on this turn, but I'm going to expect Eustatic or something similar to go down on this next turn. So David Gibson is taking his time here, so probably just carefully considering all of his options before making his play. And that's a really good lesson for anyone at home, is even when there's a play that screams out as a fairly high candidate or a more obvious one, it's still a good idea to look through carefully and make sure there's nothing better, because there are good plays and then there are even better plays sometimes that can be missed if you don't take that time to look for just a little bit longer. If there were an open eye, there would be acuities, of course. With an open R, there would be suricate, so there's certainly no shortage of options, but Eustatic is looking like the scoring candidate here out of all of the options.
Hi everybody, Robin Pollock Daniel here with a working mic. Pleased to join you and Jesse.
There we go, so he's just lined up Eustatic.
Nice play. I'll be providing you as well with updates of our other first board game, which is Colin.
So the nice thing here is the play of Eustatic actually works really well with David Gibson's style, which is ultra defensive for the most part, because with that C there really is nothing to be hooked underneath very easily.
I'm not sure if you mentioned this because I just came in, Jesse, but he just blocked entirety.
Yes, entirety has been blocked as well. I did not mention that, thank you.
And eternity, it's anagram.
Yeah, so neither of those 8s that Orry had go down anymore.
So he's obviously going to want to keep it very, very powerful in turn. And get rid of the YE, which I think is what he's doing.
Over on David Gibson's side, we are seeing a number of vowels in that, what we call a post-bingo draw. The first set of letters you pick up after using all 7. In Scrabble folklore, that can often be a devastatingly bad rack, or possibly even an extremely good one. Particularly for our West Coast viewers who play Scrabble, we like to call it luck boxing, when you pick 7 letters out of the bag that you can put down on the board and play again right after doing all 7 the previous turn. That did not happen in this case with David Gibson. He's got nice letters, but a little bit of an imbalance there, so we'll expect a few vowels to go down from him next turn. Meanwhile, Orry is going to get rid of the YE for some points. 16 points with that, and a fairly strong leave. David Gibson is the type of player to make inferences based on what the last player has put down on the board. He's going to notice that buy went down as opposed to something like OY and buy or AY and buy, so he has some knowledge as to what isn't on Orry's rack after that turn, as well as what is. He's probably going to peg Orry with an E and a decent set of letters after that when considering this play.
Does he have room for a reknit? I think he does.
We're over to David Gibson on this turn, and he is potentially considering, yeah, so he's perhaps thought that there's a setup there. Interestingly enough, he's not decided to go for anything blocky, really. That triple word score line on the left, there was at most 6 tiles that could have gone down there to make a scoring play, so in terms of blocking any potential bingos or extremely high scoring plays, that might not have been priority. I was thinking maybe something like 2, or with do and low might have blocked up a few of the spots closer to the top, but Orry's playing Kiter to open up the bottom portion of the board as he recognizes that things are getting locked up pretty quickly here. He's kept IN as part of his leave to leave ing options to that G and hag potentially, plus the R for ER words or RE words in his Kiter play at the bottom.
Right. David has picked up FP, which is never a nice combination.
So he's looking to play if somewhere, potentially fax and if, just to continue building up a score, keeping a decent leave as well. Does not seem particularly concerned with any of Orry's last couple of plays. And that's totally fine as he's continuing to pad the lead he's built up here.
Well, he did have pacifies through a C.
If we were playing toroidal Scrabble, then he could have possibly played pacifies through that.
Yeah. Toroidal Scrabble.
Yes.
Shades of Star Trek.
Yes.
And Sheldon Cooper.
So over with Orry, we've got the J, which is an 8-point scoring tile that ideally he'd like to use, because while it's good for scoring in the short term, it's not the best for making longer words. And of course, when possible, you want to use all of your tiles in one turn. So
He's going to want to make as volatile a board as possible. Even though it's early in the game, he's a full 2 bingos behind. So it's always a problem when you're behind and you have a clunky tile like a J that you want to dump, but you also don't want to block your board that you're carefully building.
he's going to be pretty happy with the bottom being more open now after his Kiter play. The top still has lines open for 7s on the top of the T, inside of the T and the D with Todd or Ted or Tad, or underneath that D. So the top is looking okay.
But he's forced to start with a vowel.
Yeah. In an ideal world, Orry would be able to score with the J and probably the A as well, and perhaps 1 or 2 other tiles at most. But he, of course, wants to score as well, so...
Yeah, it's tough.
These racks, the ones where the letters are not bad, and they're all fairly good, but together not good for longer words, they're harder to make good plays with, because that's part of what makes the difference, especially when behind, is to manage these carefully.
So you see what he's had to do. He's had to block his very nicely set up lanes from Kiter. He's also created an easy way for David to score back, because Jura takes a T and an L. So he's blocked his lanes. He's given a potential 30, 40-point return play for David. And sometimes that happens when you're behind. Oh, there you go. He's given him a Z place. Oh, you're listening to Canadians Today, folks, so you're going to get the Z.
We do proudly proclaim it to be a Z, yes, so this is what you're going to have to put up with. We'll apologize for it as well in true Canadian fashion. So Orry is continuing to have some rack balancing trouble here. He's got Kindar plus another N, but not sure there's any easy spot for Kindar to go down on this board. Looking to see where he's considering dropping the QA for caught. I can only see it going to the top, but that just really blows the board open at this point and just offers a lot back that he doesn't have to offer back. This is a fairly tough position because there's nothing really obvious for him. He can't use the Jura hooks that he's just set up, so he doesn't have a T or an L to put under Jura, and David Gibson does have a T that he could put there next turn. Orry's decided to open up the top of the board with caught.
Reason for my silence, everybody, is I'm going to try to get you up to date with our second featured board, which is the Collins board, and I'm trying to get the score for you.
So there's priciest at the very least on the bottom for David Gibson, and it's just going to become an even broader lead for him at this point. Pick rights actually as well. Either way, he'd be slightly opening the board up here, and I think it's probably just a matter of preference for which one he'd like to play, as they will both score exactly the same.
All right. So I can tell you right now that the score between David Eldar, who's just been having a fabulous tournament, and Peter Armstrong is... Gee, I set that up and I don't have the score. Here we go. 138 for David Eldar and 123 for Peter Armstrong. They've exchanged bonuses, Riotise with a blank T, and deionize. So we're getting a lot of double I words in this game. Ooh, pick rights.
Orry, meanwhile, continues to have a lot of trouble, where his letters are not bad in and of themselves. They're just not conducive to 7 or 8 letter words at this point in time.
So annoying, so close. You're balancing your rack, you're grooming it, and it's just not coming all together.
Meanwhile, over on David Gibson's side, he has just drawn one of the blanks, and it just can't possibly go wrong for him at this point. This is another one of those racks for Orry where it's really hard to determine what an ideal move is here. To keep a good lead and still score something. Sometimes when the situation calls for it, you just want to blow through a rack and not worry so much about leave to score, but even with those letters and this board, I'm not seeing a lot of scoring options for him, which just...
Well, I think he's got to do two things. One, he's got to keep the rack balanced, and he's got to play as few tiles as possible because he wants to keep this game going as long as possible so he can catch up.
Yes.
So dumping off EN somewhere seems... But how many times can he keep dumping?
That's the thing, right?
That's
If he makes short plays, he's not going to score much of anything. And at this point, it's really hard to say to just kind of play for spread, but essentially he's at that.
No,
he's not
got
quite
to play
there.
to win.
He's not quite at the point of playing for spread yet, but 200 down, he needs to...
I don't think we've ever had a championship where we've made a champion based on spread.
No.
Yeah, there you go. He has the same thought. Remember, the point of all this is volatility, trying to get David on the run, multiple spots over the board so that David can't block everything. It's just impossible.
I imagine that was also part of the logic for Cott when he was trying to balance his rack, was to keep the board as open as possible. He's expecting David Gibson to close it, so that S on the bottom where he's just played his bingo, I'm sure Orry would expect that to get blocked up if he's unable to use it. So he'll want to open elsewhere so that there's at least 2 spots open every turn.
David has... Actually, even though he only has the one vowel, he actually has a single bingo using the blank as another consonant. Can anybody guess what that is? If you guess W, you're on the right track. Okay, well, take you out of your suspense. It's wyverns, which can be spelled with a Y, W-Y-V-E-R-N-S, or with an I. And there are no 8s with that rack. So David can play that off of hag. And as far as I can see, nowhere else.
Certainly not the most intuitive to make that blank a W with a rack like that. Definitely requires
Yeah.
thoroughly going through all of your options. He's got Nervy lined up.
Yeah, David talked to me before the tournament, and humble as ever, you know, hard enough to learn a new language. He was talking about all the new words that got into the dictionary a few years ago. Hard enough to, with that beautiful accent, hard enough to know a new language when you're 5 years old, but hard, you know, I'm 65. So I think he was trying to tell me, Robin, be good to me. I'm going to miss some words. Be kind.
Yeah, David Gibson, he's talked to both of us a little bit at the tournament here when he's had time, and he says he still gets really nervous playing at table 1.
He was not breathing when I talked to him. He was, yeah. We did a little bit of inspiration.
And that just goes to show for those of you at home, you know, these guys are perfectly human as well, despite how inhuman some of their plays are, in a good way, you know, at times. So
yeah, especially first game, first thing in the morning. Probably didn't sleep that well. In fact, I know he didn't. So if he misses wyverns, I think we'll cut him a little slack.
I also didn't sleep the best, but I think it was for different reasons. I definitely may have partaken in
little alcohol.
A little bit of beverage, yes.
There we go. So we played off the NE as we anticipated without blocking the board. Now if David plays Nervy, the best place for him to play that right now is at 14L over pick rights, which would cause him to open a triple-triple, which would be so unlike him. Let's see what he does. I don't think he's found the wyverns, otherwise he would have put it down very quickly. Whereas Orry has picked up 2 bingos through the G. Unfortunately, neither fits, Danglier and Dragline. And to the S, he only has, there's only Islander in that rack. So he is continuing to have a very frustrating situation where he's not picking that terribly, but he just can't score with it.
And David Gibson's chosen to fish off that Y and play Ya, so it looks like he probably didn't see wyverns.
And I bet he would have loved to get rid of... Oh, I'm surprised he didn't play Neve. I wonder if that would have been a better play, to hold on to the Y as a potential vowel substitute.
Well, looks like unless that spot is blocked, Orry's going to get a fresh serving of David Gibson.
Yeah.
Perhaps more than one serving, or maybe versing off of Hags.
Oh, and he's got governs and servings to the S in pick right. So David will be bingoing next turn.
There's a friend I play Scrabble at home in Western Canada with once in a while. His name's Shannon Burns, and he likes to call racks like Orry's mocking racks, where he has nice letters that should go down but don't. And I would say with letters that nice, yeah, this is definitely a mocking rack for Orry, because it does not go down on the board.
Dave also has Avengers off the A in cat. I mean, he's just, as he would use the word, blessed this game. We love David. He's just one of the most lovely, generous men in general, let alone in Scrabble. And we love Orry, too.
I'm going to say that Orry might consider Kindar next turn, assuming that that spot's not taken just to score.
I think if David had just bingoed right this turn, for sure, he would be actually looking to end the pain very quickly. We would be, what would we call that, suicide Scrabble? Or
Yeah, it looks like he is lining up Kindar, and I think it's a reasonable decision. He needs to score something here and really just hope for a miracle. He'd want to hope to draw both blanks here to get back in the game.
Right. If he was looking to try to stay in the game, he would have just played Cade, or Cuddy, which would, as we said, play less tiles so the game lasts longer. Now he's just looking to get out of this game and move on.
And Kindar, just to add a little bit insult to injury, will give serving for a fair bit of points.
For a lot more points, right?
So David's going to be happy to see that and is likely going to play serving right there. Yeah. Orry hasn't even finished drawing his tiles, and it's already going to be his turn.
In the Collins game, the update is that David Eldar is in the lead, 197 to 153. Peter Armstrong has a nice rack of ADE and OTU, but I don't see anything for him to play, so we're just waiting for the next play. But David wasn't even planning to come to this tournament. He told me that he had been kicked off a plane. He said, "Don't judge. It wasn't my fault." But I never got the details. And he had a free ticket to America, as he called it. He's from Australia. And it was about to expire. He only had about a month to go. So he said, what's the best use of my time in America? And of course it was Scrabble. So he hopped on a plane last minute and decided to play. Of course we welcomed him with open arms. And since then he has been an excellent scare to our Collins players who thought that they had prepared amply, which of course they had, I'm sure, but when you have somebody who plays Collins every single time he plays, it's very, very tough to win. And he's been just burning up the board.
David Eldar is no stranger to the scene. He was a part of the first World Youth Scrabble Championship and won that some years ago.
Wow.
And has gone on to be a force to be reckoned with in the adult Scrabble scene. He's also a poker player, and in fact plays poker more often than Scrabble now, just due to the lucrative nature of the poker scene compared to Scrabble. But
just sucks money out of you.
Deldar, as we like to call him affectionately as well, is pretty good at making money. He likes to find his spots.
He's got just the personality for poker too. He's
Yeah.
very laconic. The epitome of the poker face. Like, you just never know what's going on in his mind.
The driest of wit as well,
Yeah.
which I love. What I don't love is Orry's rack right now.
Lulu. You know what? Maybe he's. You know what? Get that bad karma out of the way. It's almost worse, if you start picking really well towards the end. Like, in the end, you come so close, but it was way too late.
And he definitely cannot say now that he's picking well. The issue before on the other turns is that his racks weren't even that bad. They just didn't generate huge points for him. So he's playing Louis to dump off some of the vowels and I guess really just get through the game. He's not really worried about opening the board because at this point he has to know that he can't win this game.
Yeah, I think we're down to 6 tiles in the bag. If I'm after this, it'll be a little
And
6 tiles.
There is Plasm for David Gibson in that spot to score some points.
Nice.
I doubt he's going to be worried about leaving the board closed.
Oh no, he
at this
doesn't want to
point.
open the board.
So
I don't think he cares.
I would assume Plasm or something
Or
similar for his turn.
also nice is Psalm under servings
Oh yes, that's even better.
for 42.
Yes. I think Psalm will override me on this one.
Which is a very appropriate word for David.
Devout.
Very devout. I'm sure he would know how to pronounce it better. Psalm?
It's just Psalm. Yeah.
Just Psalm? Okay.
I don't think there's any of the in there from.
From my synagogue, no, we don't use the word Psalm very often. Well, games like this are always a joy for announcers, aren't they? There's nothing to talk about, but... Where's Orry's from Texas, is he not?
Orry is from Texas, yes.
There are a lot of very, very good Texas players in this world. They always make fun of us, in Canada. One reason why there's so many good Canadian players is because, with our long winters, what else do we have to do? So what do you think it is? Maybe it's in Texas, it's so darn hot.
Yeah, I would say that's the reason. It's the opposite. It's too hot to go outside and do anything.
You want air-conditioned living rooms and... Oh, we're going to have to ask Chris Cree.
I'm sure we'll get a yarn or two. I tell you what.
Our newly svelte NASPA leader.
Yes.
Oh, Blam.
He's
holding
gone
on
with
to that
Blam.
S just in case.
Just in case.
Well, the X is gone. He wasn't blocking that. Oh my goodness. Poor Orry. All right. There are 2 left in the bag. There's still a blank unseen, which I'm going to assume, yes, David has just picked up.
He's also, David Gibson will be going out for sure here. So he could, depending on the circumstances, reach just short of 600, if not 600. If Orry decides to desperation open for some reason, then he could score more, but I doubt it. I think Orry's just going to play something that'll score a few points, and then he'll just need to shake this game off. It's just been one of those games that's unfortunate for him, but this is just going to build David Gibson's spread up even higher and give him a comfortable cushion from some of the people chasing him.
Well, off Hag, he's got Inspire, and obviously lots of bingos off of Louis. I don't even have time to get through all of them. So as long as that kind of quadrant stays open, he will bingo out. And he probably has room through that R. Let me see if I can figure something through that R.
He would also have in Sphere down to the E and pick rights as one option.
Oh, excellent. So yeah, there's no reason for him not to bingo. And he has respring through the R and serving, I believe. That fits. Yep.
Pick a bingo, any bingo. What a terrible problem to have.
Yeah, really. I want, if everybody can watch the screen when it's over, don't turn your head. I want you to watch David's face and his head as he talks to Orry about the game. And I guarantee you, I'm going to put a little bet. 5 cents? Shall we do 5 cents? Well, you're probably going to agree with me.
Sure.
He's going to be shaking his head. I got
The
so
open
lucky.
palms.
Open palms. What can you do? I was
the
just
open
so
palms,
lucky.
the eyes down as he's shaking his head as well. Yeah.
And he's right. He, but he also played beautifully. Eustatic was beautiful. And I came in late, so I'm going to pray that he's the one who played it, but I'm going to assume he did. And I want you to notice, everybody out there, how Orry is taking his time to play. Even though obviously there's almost no reason to take his time to play. That's integrity for you, and that's how we play the game. Every point counts, every turn is important, and he wants to make sure that he does the best. He's going to try to go out in 2 with that rack. It's, that'll take a miracle. But he's, I probably would have played Lowered, 4 minutes ago, just to get out.
He is probably also briefly considering any possible way he could block the board up, right. Which is not likely here, but looks like he's got a similar idea with Lured. He's probably just not sure enough of Lowered to play it at this point. So.
Oh, that's possible. But if he looks at what's available, EIINOPRS, it's oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, Lured. Okay. My annotator here, Kate had put down Lurer. I thought he gave him an S hook for 90-point bingo.
Yeah, even worse.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's no shortage of options here. He may just because look through the D to see if he can play an 8.
Well, David, on the other hand, I'm wondering if, as a mercy, oh no, he's taking his time too. There you go. As nice as David is, and I probably would play really quickly just because I felt so bad. He's taking his time to play the right play. Good for him. Maybe he's looking through something through the D, hooking onto Lurer, through the R. Sorry. Yeah, the D.
It's not an R.
I don't see anything. No, nothing through the D hitting Louis with an S.
Orry's head tilted back. Looks like he let out an exasperated sigh. I'd probably do the same thing at this point here. Please just let it be over. At this point? I think
well,
20
earlier. Minutes ago.
Yeah, definitely earlier as well. But yeah, looking aside, it's just like mercy, clemency, all those words. Just let it be over.
Let's just get me out of here. I think whatever you had a couple of servings of last night, I think he's also looking to
Yeah, he
Get
might
a
want
nip.
it. He may want it at this
A
point.
nip of gin, as the Dixie Chicks would say. What's his best play? Inspire off GI? I haven't done the math.
I am a
That
little
seems
bit
pretty
too
good.
lazy to do it at this point,
Yeah.
to be honest. But I think yeah,
Or
Inspire
Pines and
or
Inspire,
Pines.
yeah, they're
Or
both-
Pines scores a bit more with the P and the double letter score. So
Actually, they're both 74. So. Oh.
oh, because the O blank would be on the double letter.
Yeah,
I see.
I'm not
Okay.
sure why he didn't play I. Did he put down Inspire or no? Oh, he's put down nothing. I'm looking at a suggestion for him. There you go, Inspire.
Orry's face is just like, can you play your bingo already, please?
There we go. He found Inspire. Of course he did. Which, as I said to you, is what I told. The last thing I said to him is take a deep breath. And here
Mhm.
he plays Inspire.
Mm.
It's almost poetic.
And going out with the handshake. The head is, yeah, he's shaking his
there we go,
head.
there we
Oh,
go.
he's going to do the hand.
I win my
let's wait.
nickel.
Oh, there's the hand. Yes, the hand is open. But he was pointing at a spot on the board. So, oh, he did it left hand, left hand. Yes. Neither of us have to.
Oh,
Yeah, there he goes. Humble as always. So with a final score of, it looks like 585 to 243, David Gibson has just
Brutal.
pulverized Orry at this point, and Orry's just starting to laugh finally. And I mean, like, what else
What
can